And then I'm going to share my screen. I wanted to talk about HOAs and condos today, but first I wanted to talk about the email that just came out from Amber. Um, so we have an opportunity, we've done the notes to neighbors thing. We've written holiday cards and Valentine's Day cards and things like that to veterans or to people in care facilities and things like that. Well, we have an opportunity through my Rotary Club to do another campaign. So, Old Dominion Honor Flight, they take veterans from all over the country, veterans of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, to DC to see their various war memorials up there. And, they get in their VFW regalia with their hat with all their pins or whatnot. And part of the trip, so from here, they just take a motor coach and go up. But if they're coming like from Omaha or Texas or whatever, they fly them, which is why it's called Honor Flight. But part of the trip is that when they're on the motor coach leaving here, they have mail call like they used to do when they were stationed overseas. And the letters are collected in advance by family members and friends and things like that of these various veterans and passed out. And it came to my attention this morning that some of these veterans don't have any mail. And so can you imagine being on a bus and there's Bill over here getting 5 or 6 letters, and then you don't get anything, or you only get one and somebody gets 20. So I have some notes here for us. And what I think would be nice to do is we just put on the outside of the envelope, and that there's some sort of you know, American type ones with red, white, and blue. Just put on the outside of the envelope Honor Flight. On the inside, write Dear Veteran, and then something simple. Thank you for your service. Enjoy your trip to Washington, things like that. We're in a bit of a crunch because the trip is coming up. So I need these by 3 p.m. next Tuesday. There's a basket at the front desk. And write as many as you want. There's no limit. But if you just write 2 or 3, that would be extraordinarily helpful because that's at least 2 or 3 more that they didn't have already. So yeah, just, dear veteran, thank you for your service. I want you to know I appreciate you. Maybe if you have a connection to the military, like my grandfather was a World War II veteran, I'll probably mention that and how much I admired him and his service. And drop them at the front desk. And, if you have, how old are your kids?
2.
2, not old enough to write letters, but maybe like Ryan's kids, they could write a couple of notes, things like that. So, because that would be kind of cool too. So if you have young people in your lives, or if you want to take it up with a church group or whatever, just write a handful of notes and let's get it out there to them. And we'll have more opportunities for this as well, because they go on a recurring basis. So as I hear about it again, you'll probably try and get us a little bit more headway on that. So thank you for that and indulging me. Now we're going to jump over, well, before we jump into sharing screen on that, HOAs and condo associations, we either love them or hate them. There's really no middle ground, right? Except that for us in real estate, we kind of have to be neutral on it. So we have to force ourselves to the middle ground. We get a lot of people that have experience with HOAs in Williamsburg or Richmond or elsewhere outside of the state that they're really stringent. I literally, this came up apropos of nothing this morning in my Rotary Club. I was speaking with a real estate attorney there who basically sues people. He doesn't handle closings. He sues people related to real estate. That's his job as a litigation attorney. And did not tell him I was doing this class. He says, let me tell you this one from the Supreme Court of Virginia. Jan, this is Dave Zobel. So, and this was in Richmond. So this is why we have problems down here, is because Richmond won't let us have nice things. So it was an Asian Indian family who moved into this very posh HOA community in probably Glen Allen or something like that. And as part of their faith tradition, they put up a lot of lights at various times of the year, not just Christmas lights, right? Which is what we normally see when people decorate outside, or Halloween lights or whatever. Well, the HOA rules and regulations had very strict rules on holiday lights. And they could only be up during this time of the year. Here are the recognized holidays, Halloween, Christmas, da, da, da. They can only be up for 14 days, things like that. Well, this, trying to condense a 10-minute conversation down into like 45 more seconds, they went back and forth in court in appeals to the Supreme Court of Virginia and back down to the lower courts on another element of the case and back up to the Supreme Court of Virginia again. And one of the appellate judges is Glenn Huff here from Virginia Beach. He used to be Huff Pool Mahoney down at Town Center. And he is for lack of a better word, an egghead legal mind. And he basically said that this HOA rule violated the religious freedom of this family. And therefore, this whole section of the HOA rules is invalidated. And he awarded almost $200,000 in legal fees to the Indian family who wanted, because they've been fighting this, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew where this was going as soon as he said religious holidays and decorating for religious holidays. Like, you don't mess with religion, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, those are the kinds of things that people hear about with HOAs and with condos. They hear the horror stories, right? Mm-hmm. And the majority of the time, everything is fine, right? I can't tell you the number of times absolutely nothing exciting happens in a condo association meeting or an HOA meeting. But there's that one time that somebody heard about their cousin got slapped with a fine because they painted their door the wrong shade of green, kind of thing. So we kind of have to take all of that and say, well, that's a very, like, less than 1% of the time those bad things happen. Majority of the time, everything is good. The best advice I can give anyone is, if you buy into an HOA or into a condo association, at least attend some of the meetings so you know how things work, right? If you are so compelled to run for the board, then do that. But you get people that get on these condo and HOA boards and they become entrenched, just like with any organization, and they can't see any problems, they can't see anything but problems at that point, because they're so myopic in it, right? They can't see the forest for the trees. So encourage people to get involved, encourage people to read their condo docs. And so we're going to start with that. So condo and HOA docs, share screen. Where are we here? So here is a resale certificate. So what is the rule when we receive condo and HOA docs? What is the timeline for buyers?
I'm not mistaken, 3 days, right?
3 days beginning when?
When the package is received by their representative for them.
By that midnight, right? It starts like midnight.
Oh, midnight, yes.
12:01 a.m. Because, and this is where Virginia, the legislature got it right. They said 12:01 a.m. on the day after receipt. So if I receive the condo docs today at 10:12 a.m. April 10th, the timeline begins at 12:01 a.m. April 11th, and then it's 3 days, and the clock is literally ticking. So I don't know why, but just as much as people can't figure out what midnight means, is it today or is it tomorrow, they still have trouble with noon. Is that morning or is that afternoon? It's like AM or PM. It's science. There are people that keep track of these things. But anyway, so 12:01 a.m. So that actually works in our favor, especially if we get them early in the day, because then we can shoot them right over to our clients and say, okay, starting tonight, but get started now, here's your clock. And what happens during those 3 days?
They review them.
When more than review, the buyer is supposed to read them cover to cover.
Right.
And make sure that they can abide by the rules, make sure that they have any questions about the financials, that those are brought to the forefront. And if they can't abide by the rules, this is their opportunity to get out of the contract without penalty, right? They can just say, I don't like the condo docs, HOA docs, I'm out, right? And they don't have to give a reason. Almost universally in condo docs especially, there is a provision, and I like to be a little snarky in case you haven't figured it out. that I tell people to pay particular attention to the rules and regulations, because almost invariably in condominium docs, there is a rule about not keeping livestock in your condo. And so, David, you buying this condo, you cannot keep your chickens or your cows in your condo anymore. You have to buy something else. And that makes people laugh a little bit, but it also makes them think about, well, if they're prohibiting chickens, why did they have to have someone prohibit chickens? And then what else is in there that I should pay attention to, right? It at least gets a hook in their brain to say, okay, I need to look at these things. So what's in the condo docs is very basic things like where your parking space is, what you're supposed to do with your trash, how you're supposed to make modifications to your unit. You know, there could be restrictions on the type of flooring that you could put in your unit, right? So if you think about condos stacked on top of each other, should the unit above you be allowed to have hardwood floors? And people go, you know, sound like tap dance lessons all the time, you know, or if they're allowed to do that, is there a thicker underlayment to help soundproof them? You know, these are things that the condo association and the condo docs have. But it all starts here with the resale certificate. And we've now moved on from HOA and condo and It's now called Common Interest Community. And the Common Interest Community Board in Richmond is what governs homeowners associations, property owners associations, and condo associations. So this is an official form for DPOR. This has to be generated for almost every condo resale. The exceptions being units, 2-unit condos. And I think condos of less than 4 units total, but definitely for our purposes, a lot of what we see are the 2-unit condos. They don't have to have a resale certificate. And it's kind of loosey-goosey there. So the resale certificate will tell you the official name of the condo association, where it's located, the address of the association, and I think this is like Community First Management or something like that, CFM, the date it was prepared, and then it goes into all these hideous checkboxes. This form, does it have it on here? Yeah, so July 2023, the General Assembly decided to update this to make it clearer. We see how that went. But basically, these checkboxes say, yes, the governing documents are there. Yes, their contact information is there. I honestly don't know what restraint on free alienability means. That's a legal term. You know, this is why I send it over to Shaheen Law to let them read through this and make sure that the resale certificate complies with what they want to do. Association fees. The association does charge fees to the owner of the unit. See Appendix 5. Up until 2023, this used to say, yes, we charge fees. Here's the monthly fee. Here's the move-in fee. Here's the late fee. Now we have to go see Appendix 5. So all kinds of good stuff there. But when we tell our clients to read the condo docs, we also need to read them, right? We're not bound by law to do so, but we really need to, because if we see something in there that is contradictory to what's in the listing or is not in our client's best interest, like, for example, they really need to be able to park 2 cars in the condo association parking lot. Typically, you get 1 assigned space and there's guest spaces. Well, if there is 1 assigned space for each unit and a very limited number of guest spaces, that may be a problem for our clients, right? So say, you have 100 units and there's only 10 guest spaces. Well, if you have 100 condo units, maybe that's 2 people per unit. So now you're looking at 200 parking spaces being needed. And if they don't have the ability to park there, even in a guest spot, where are they going to park? Or I had this question the other day. I'm working with Windward Towers up in Newport News. They're the 2 towers right there at the James River Bridge as you leave Newport News. That place is kind of like locked down like Fort Knox. There's a guard station. There's a Brinks security guard there. They have a gate. You have to have a pass. Your name has to be on the list. They swab you for DNA, retina scans, all of that. And so my buyers have 3 cars. the husband is a cop, so he has a cruiser. They have a personal vehicle, and then they have a company provided vehicle for the wife who works for USAA. And so like, okay, I know this going in. It's a self-managed association with staff, so we were able to talk to staff right there in that moment. I was like, okay, we got 3 vehicles. Is that going to be a problem? No, not a problem. You park here and you guest spots over here. Great. Decals, yes, great. What about police cruiser? Because that's a marked vehicle, and a lot of associations don't allow for marked work trucks and things like that, or work trucks, period. They're like, no, police cruiser's fine. I'm like, damn right, it's fine. It's a cop. You don't want to come down on the wrong side of a cop.
Yeah.
And then the other one, it's a vehicle provided by USAA, but it's not emblazoned with USA on the side. It's just a plain white SUV. That's fine. So then I asked about work trucks. They said, absolutely not. So now we know if you're like a construction worker or something like that, and you have a truck with a rig on the back of it, you can't buy in this condo association, or you can't park there. So things like that. So, and that is in the condo docs, no professional work vehicles allowed kind of things. Like, okay, so if you see that in there, you need to pull those things out. So lots of little check boxes here. One of the things we look for is, this doesn't apply to us on the buyer side, but like sign restrictions.
I saw they're having like solar panel restrictions now.
Oh yeah, solar restrictions. Now, so this particular unit we're looking at, it's a community building, right? So there are 8 units per building, and so the condo association owns the roof. So you can't go and have your solar panels installed on the condo roof, kind of thing. Now, a 2-unit condo like we have in Chicks Beach in the North End, that's probably different. Most of these probably are so old that they don't really have restrictions on condo associations. Most of them barely have any condo documents at all because they're so old.
I can see that coming into play though at like Cape Harbor or something.
Yeah.
Detached condos.
Well, see, all right, so that brings up an interesting point. So Cape Harbor and Long Point Cove on the other side of the road there, those are single-family detached condos. And the owners of each unit are responsible for their own unit maintenance, including new roof. But when you install a new roof or a new front door or storm door or garage door, you have to get architectural review permit approval from the condo association. So they may have rules on solar panels. And if they don't, the architectural review committee will tell you, yes or no, you can't do this. So, but that is an interesting thing. We're going to be seeing a lot more legislation around solar panels where residential real estate is concerned coming up in the next year or two in the General Assembly. That is something that VAR is working on. So here, parking vehicle restrictions, and we go to see Appendix 24 kind of thing. And the one thing that I always look for, and it's not this document, so let me go out here and find the one balance income sheet, was it this? Let's see. They do an inspection of the units, and they basically just sort of like drive by or walk around kind of thing. No, that's not it. I always look for that sheet so that we know if there are any repairs that need to be done, such as a leaning fence, or I had one on a condo, January, remember Janice Powell. We had an issue where her little townhome condo in Suffolk, she was the buyer. They had gone in and gutted it and flipped it, and it was beautiful. And they replaced the deck, and it was a beautiful deck, and the deck looked just like every other deck in the complex, except it was brand new. The condo association, they said, you did not get permission for the deck. And so I had to walk the listing agent through this because he's just a professional flipper and has a real estate license. And he's like, well, it's far better than everything. So like, yes, it is absolutely far better than anything else in the neighborhood, but you did not get permission to do it. I said, so now you just write a letter, send it to the condo association, ask for it to be fast tracked. It'll be fine because you did it better than what was there before. They just want the checkbox to say, yes, he got permission to do it. So things like that can get cleaned up after the fact. I had, this is one, Green Run is always fun. for HOAs. So in townhomes in Green Run, the color of the detached shed, they have these sheds that sort of back up to each other along the fence line in the townhomes. The color of the shed must match the color of the house. Okay. It did, but we gave it a fresh coat of paint. And we got dinged because we didn't get permission to. And it was like, literally, it's like, we took the swatch from Turner Williams, like, that matches, it's identical, it's like this creamy yellow kind of thing. But because we freshened it up and made it look better, that got noticed, and we didn't have permission, but like, oh, so sorry, we apologize, here's what we did, please give us your blessing, and they did. So, things like that you can easily navigate if you are, and we'll launch into this now, if you are kind to the condo manager, if you ask thoughtful questions, and if you make them feel like they are absolutely in charge, right? So even in real estate, we, not us, of course, because we're better than the average bear, but there are a lot of real estate agents that will call and attack the condo association staff. Because what do you mean this deck is out of compliance? It's far better. It's like, how can we fix this? I'm sorry, my client didn't know they were supposed to get permission first. They didn't talk to me. I, of course, know this, but they didn't. And maybe it's my fault that, I didn't advise them in advance, but, it's done. For you guys at the association, does this fit your criteria? Well, yes, you just didn't get permission. Okay, how can we get permission? What would you like to see? You can even use the ninja thing. If I wave a magic wand, what would be the perfect thing for you to receive from us? Kind of thing. And if you defer to them in that regard, they will usually say, you know what, we're just going to check it off the list. You're fine. I've had that happen at Ocean Lakes. You know what? It's fine. I'll just make a note that we gave you retroactive permission. Shh, done. Thank you so much. What was your name again? Oh, it's Suzanne. Suzanne, thank you so much. I appreciate this. You know what? Send them a note.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your, don't call them out on specific. Thank you for, falsifying records but, send them the note and say, thank you for your assistance with, clarifying questions regarding 123 Sesame Street. And, and just, be overly nice to them, kill them with kindness, because they're yelled at by the residents in their HOA or condo, they're yelled at by members of the public, they're yelled at by real estate agents. I mean, so if we can go in there and say, can I get you some cookies? What would make you happy to, we're not necessarily bribing them, but we're just being nice. And when you break down their defenses like that, you'll be surprised at what you get. And one other bit of advice is if you can find contact information from the association. So if we jump into, I don't think I have, do I have Rain open? I don't. Let's log in. If you get the contact information out of Rain, or if you happen to know who the manager is.
Yeah, sometimes it has their way of the listing. I got a quick question on that. So can we still put a clause in if we have any like condo association violations?
Legally, yes.
That's what I was gonna say, because I had a few issues and I checked with the lender and with Shaheen, and then it was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then the other thing, I had a condo where we had like some issues and it was almost like ridiculous. But like we already passed the 10-day period of time for like PICA, property inspection complaints, CRM. So we're already up to 10 days, so they didn't want to like fix anything on the condo
Right.
inspection. So we ended up getting a credit, but it was just kind of like one thing going back and forth. Like,
so really there's no enforcement
okay.
on these things. And that's part of the problem is, so when you receive HOA or condo docs, you as the buyer, without raising objection, are agreeing to abide by those rules. And those rules say you will make repairs as requested by the association. The problem is there's no penalty for not making those repairs unless it's something so severe that they start fining you. And if they start fining you, you could accrue enough fines that the association could foreclose on you to recoup their financial losses. So that is real. But if you have a door that is painted the wrong color and the seller refuses to fix it, you can go to closing.
Okay.
I would recommend to the buyer, please, for the love of God, go talk to the association, get the right paint color, fill out the form, and paint the door so that you're not in violation. But let me share this screen with you. So here is Rain. This is one of my listings. So right here, these two lines, if done properly, because this is garbage in, garbage out, right? These are free text fields. It is reliant upon the, let me blow it up a little bit more, reliant upon the listing agent to input the information correctly. So condo association name is Sanctuary at Falls Cape, Property Management Associates, PMA, and there's their number. In my experience, the best way to get information out of a condo manager is to call the front desk, find out who the manager is and what their email address is, and then email them your questions and try and email them with all your questions all at once. You know, don't say, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, because that'll piss them off. They will be very upset about that. And by emailing them, you also give them the opportunity to go look, because these folks are managing multiple associations with different rules and things like that. And to get them on the phone, like, I need an answer right now today about this condo at Cedar Bay Shores or whatever it is. We need to know what parking space it is. Gotta go look it up. And if it hasn't been digitized yet, it may be in a file somewhere. So email them. And then, you know, follow up a couple of days later if you haven't heard, just say, just wanted to follow up, make sure you saw my email. We have some questions. Whenever you have a moment, get back to us about these things. So, you know, that's what we're looking at there. Just kill them with kindness is the main thing. If you, as with anything with these, anything that we cover, if you have questions about where to find things in the condo docs, feel free to call me, call Jenny. You've had enough experience with the condo docs to know where to, it's like, oh, this would be in the governing documents, or this, there's got to be rules and regs somewhere. But that does bring up this. I wanted to show you this. This is always fun. So let's go back here. So some of the fun stuff you find in condo documents. So here's the articles of incorporation. And this is actually, well, allegedly a very clear looking photocopy. But these things are usually photocopied and photocopied and photocopied and photocopied that they can hardly be read. All right, this is actually quite clear. So this basically establishes everything from day one. So if we look at the top, so this is for their State Corporation Commission document 2009. Were these built in 2009? I thought they were earlier than that. Maybe that's why they're so clear. How about we jump down to the bottom? 2009. I guess they were built in 2009. I thought they were older. But yeah, you get some, like, especially here in Virginia Beach, the Oceans condo at 40th Street, old building, old, quote unquote. Cape Henry Towers and Harbor Gate, on Shore Drive from the 70s. You know, good luck trying to read any of the documents there because they're so old. The good news is that these articles of incorporation are fairly cookie cutter, because this just says, okay, we're creating a corporation, we're creating a condo association, and there it is. The other thing here, so here, oh, here, architectural change form. Here's one for you. Let's share this screen. My Zoom. So here's a typical architectural application. So really, with most condos, the most you can do is maybe put a storm door on your front door. The condo association is supposed to paint the exterior, including your door. I would hazard to say probably they would say that if you wanted to replace your windows in your unit, you'd have to get the exterior alteration application in. So date, your name, or the buyer's name, owner's name, the address of the condo, appropriate contact information. I'd probably put an email in here too. And then what do you want to do? I called Thompson Creek Windows. I want to replace all my windows, so more energy efficiency, and then check off these things that you have. You probably don't have zoning permits because it's not really required, but illustrations, maybe attach the brochure or something like that, sign it and send it in. They'll take it up at the next board meeting. So it's a process, right? They can approve it, and they can approve it with conditions. Yes, you can do this, but it must be done by this date or during these hours or something like that. Or could be denied. One instance I saw of exterior improvement being denied was over in Timberlake. The townhomes in Timberlake, they came along in the mid to late 70s, and they all have brown windows. And what color are vinyl replacement windows? White. And so the 289 a piece windows from Window World were not going to work. They had to get brown windows or have them painted brown, and it was denied until they could find. And when you change the color of a window like that, that almost doubles the price. So that may be something that the homeowners association may want to revise, kind of thing, because that limits kind of the availability of your windows, the affordability. And Timberlake townhomes even today are still not very expensive. So, people living in them probably don't have a whole lot of money. They need the cheap windows in there. They can't go get the 5 Rex from Anderson, $40,000 worth of windows just for, 6 windows.
My sister-in-law who, bought a condo in Florida.
Mm.
2 years ago. One of the requirements of that condo association, it's a low-rise condo. They have to replace their hot water heater every X amount of years, no matter what. And I guess that's to prevent any catastrophic loss.
Insurance claims.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's before the typical age, 13 years or whatever, Curtis says this.
Probably every 8 years or something like that, yeah.
They have to, get it approved, the type of hot water heater, because water heaters have changed in the last, 5 or 6 years. They have to, it can be done by an approved selection of contractors, and it's very tight on what they have to do.
Exactly, if it breaks, all that water's gonna go somewhere on your condo.
That may be a whole nother class, problems that happen with condos. But here are some other thoughts. When can you order your condo or HOA docs?
Before you list.
I would say as you list.
As you list, okay.
Yeah.
But then how do they get a copy? You can just provide them a copy as a.
So the thinking is you take a listing, and then hopefully within a couple of weeks, you'll have it under contract.
Okay.
Right. So the condo docs or the HOA docs will be current enough.
Okay.
Right. And they don't require to have a buyer's name.
Okay.
They're not issued to a buyer. It's just the resale pack. Hey, we're selling, here you go.
Perfect.
Now, if it goes on for a long time, you're on the market for a while, you may have to get an update, which is going to be about $150. So I have a listing right now in the Sanctuary in Sandbridge. That's a long haul, right? Because those require special financing. The condo fees are astronomical, and it's going to be a while to get a contract. So we opted not to order the condo docs up front, but wait until we had a contract to do that, because we don't have to spend $150 every 6 months to update the stupid condo docs.
You can use them for what, like 30 days? Is it max, or was it?
I don't know how long they're good for. I would probably say 30 to 60 days at least. I'll have to.
$300 to $400 just to get them. So
Right.
yeah. And
So-
then 150 updates or whatever. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I always pay for those, and then I get reimbursed at closing. Is that how it works? Like, how do you guys handle that?
So since July 2023, when they screwed up that form and made it harder to read, they also screwed up the payment process and said that it has to be paid for upfront. So most of these condo associations have a way for you to generate like a third-party payment link that you can send to the seller to pay for. I do not recommend paying for anything yourself if you do get it in writing that they will reimburse you at closing, but also maybe have in there that if it does not close, you still get paid within 30 days or something like that. But get the sellers to pay for it and just explain to them, you know, it's a necessary evil. You know, when you take the listing, maybe disclose like, okay, here's on our seller's net sheet, here's your condo resale packet thing. I'm going to order these up front. You're going to have to pay for them to be released. It's a requirement by law. Here's why we're doing it this early. Do we know why we're doing it this early?
So if we have any issues, we can just completely start working on those.
So if there are any violations, we can start working on those. That's great. Also, we can find out if there are any special assessments.
Yeah.
Right.
Feel that just fell through. $40,000 assessment.
Yeah,
Inside.
Condo owners are hoping you don't notice that.
Yeah.
We'll just go to closing, they'll pay for it. No. You know, it's, you know, we want to make sure that if there are any special fees or if there's any notes in there about condo fees raising, right? Because we've seen that. I remember at Cape Henry Towers, they went up for like a period of 5 years, I think, to cover a special assessment, as opposed to just giving everyone, you know, a $5,000, $10,000 bill or whatever it was. So you get that information in there. You also get to know what the pet policy is up front, because if you had someone that lives in that condo and they don't have animals, they may not know what the pet policy is, right? And that's important to a lot of people. You also have those on hand so that as soon as you get that offer, you can deliver the ratified contract and the condo docs back to the buyer at the same time. So that starts your clock, that 3-day clock on your HOA and condo docs, right? So that shortens that contingency. And then all you have to worry about is your home inspection contingency period if you have it, as opposed to, hey, we have an offer. It's Wednesday the 10th. They have 14 business days to generate the condo docs from order unless you rush them, and rushing them is an extra fee. So now we have 14 business days, probably a 10-day window on your home inspection. So that closes. We probably still have 5 or 6 more days left for that. And then the 3 days for the condo doc review. And so it just drags it out. I want to get everyone corralled in or out on this as quickly as possible. But we do get a lot of requests from potential buyers of, do you happen to have the condo docs? I want to know what the rules and regs say about this. I want to know, you know, how many parking spaces are attached to it. I want to know, I've had strange requests like, can I operate a business out of there? I'm like, well, you can work from home, but I don't think you can probably have, you know, like a hair salon and people coming in through the door all the time with the equipment and chemicals and whatnot. So, you know, those kinds of questions are in there to be answered.
Also, can you rent the property out?
That's a very good point. So the condo docs, HOA docs generally don't care, but condo docs will definitely cover any rental restrictions. You know, is there a rental cap in place? And that's typically no more than 30%. Sometimes the stringent is no more than 10% of the properties in the development can be rented out. Most of them have a waiting list. You know, so if my place doesn't rent, then, you know, I have, you know, X number of days or months to get it rented. If not, then I'm taken off the list and put at the bottom, and whoever's next up can rent their place out. They also will talk about the rental restrictions in terms of short-term rentals. The vast majority of condos here in Hampton Roads restrict rentals to no less than 6 months for a lease. And when condo unit owners rent their place out, they must provide a copy of the lease to the condo management company. That is part of the law. So, you know, that's something to consider too. And there's really no way around it with short-term rentals. You know, there is a short-term rental department at the city. There is a task force. There are fines. The neighbors will snitch. You know, so even if someone says, well, it's my vacation condo and I loan it out to, you know, cousins and family friends, and, you know, by the way, I get a few bucks on the side, somebody will figure it out and the city will come after you. So that makes it challenging for us here, but also I think, you know, that probably helps homeowners by and large, that need a place to live more than people who own real estate that want to make money. And I'm torn on that because I want people to make money and I also want people to have places to live. So, I'm torn on that issue, but we have to follow what the city ordinances are. What questions do you all have about condos or HOAs? I think we covered most of it.
So, it used to be that we had a form that we would include in our documents that got uploaded to Rain, but that form since July has changed too.
Mhm.
Now initiated by.
It's initiated by the buyer, which makes a lot more sense. So the buyer is requesting the condominium resale or HOA resale documents from the seller. And that is your CIC request form. I don't know if I have that here separately pulled out.
And if they usually got an option where they can request electronically or they can just get it mailed, right? So if we order the documents before, we would just have to like print them out and then send it over.
So most places, it's all digital now.
Yeah.
If you want a paper copy, you're going to pay an upcharge for that, I think. Is this it?
Mhm.
Yes. So let me share this on the screen. Let's chat. Share screen. So this is your request for common interest community resale certificate addendum. So this is basically your HOA or condo request.
I do have a question. So
Mhm.
on the horizon in the vertical, that you know how you have the two options, kind of when you create a pursuit,
Mhm.
Virginia, and then you have the horizontal. When they say horizontal, and what's the pursuit?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would say probably the Horizontal Property Act is related to those 2-unit condos. I'll have to look into that. But
I always click on the first one.
the vast majority,
If I'm doing it wrong, somebody's gotta tell me. That's for sure.
yeah, the lawyers will tell you. The vast majority of them are going to be Virginia Condominium Act. Then there's the Property Owners Association Act, and then there's the Virginia Real Estate Cooperative Act. The good news here is that condos or co-ops, we don't have a whole lot of them around here. In 20 years, I've sold one. So I know there's several in Ghent. There's actually one here at the North End. And they're challenging in that it's not truly real estate, right? You buy shares in a corporation, the cooperative, and those shares entitle you to live in this unit. So you don't actually have real estate, you have stocks in a corporation. And then how do you value that, right? It's not like it's the stock market. It's not real estate. So it's kind of just like, what do you think it's worth and what is somebody willing to pay? Now, there is some history in Rain to be able to say, okay, well, the last time a condo in this or a co-op sold in this building was 2 years ago and it was 250,000. So well, let's just call it 300,000 now. Most of the co-op purchases are cash because you can't, mortgage companies want to finance real property. This is not real property.
Not timeshares.
Yeah. So here I'm very protective over my client's information. So I'm not having the documents sent to them because I don't want to share his email address with the other side. So they can send them to me. I see them now. We're getting all kinds of information from other people, with telephone numbers and email addresses and things, because they just fill out the forms. And I'm like, until I am compelled to do so, I'm not giving up my client's information. So yeah, so this is the form where they officially request the HOA or condo docs kind of thing. So now here's, if they want electronic, there's that. If they want a hard copy, it can be picked up at the association office. I remember those days. We used to go and pick up these big binders of information. Then it would have to drive them across town. Usually when I'd have to pick up condo docs and drive them to the other agent's office, the other agent was always out in Suffolk. It seems like buying a Virginia Beach condo. Mailed, hand delivered, sent by overnight by third-party commercial delivery service. That's sort of old school, the old way of doing it. Digital is fine for now. A lot of times what I'll do, so when these are delivered digitally, and let me see, can't think of one off the top of my head. You'll get a link
From home buyers, right?
from HomeWise Docs or something like that, and you can forward that link to your buyer and let them download if you want. I like to control the process a little bit more, so what I do is I download the documents, put everything in a folder, and then I use Dropbox. So I'll just copy a Dropbox link
Nice.
and send my buyers the link. Say
They
here,
get it out.
but especially because some of these are quite large. I mean, let's see, if I were to do info on this folder, is it going to tell me 9.3 megabytes? I could email that. 25 megabytes is the largest you
Yeah.
could send as an email attachment, but I just send them the link and say, here you go, let me know if you have issues accessing it. Here are your instructions on how to read them. I'm going to look over them as well. I don't promise I'm going to read them because I'm not going to read government documents. But I'll look over them, let you know if I see anything out of the ordinary, that kind of thing. So that's the way I manage it. With the Long and Foster system, you can put them in OneDrive and share, because we pay for Dropbox and we pay for Google service. But if you want to use free services, we have OneDrive as part of the Long and Foster email system. So you could send them a link that way. Which when Amber sends out the video recordings of these classes, they're in OneDrive for everyone. So mainly just, as I keep saying, stay in communication with your client, stay in communication with the other agent. Make sure that if you have questions or your clients have questions, get them answered as completely as you can, as early as you can. Which is why I like ordering HOA and condo docs up front, because if there's something weird in there, I'm like, okay, what is this? We need to go back to the HOA or the condo association and say, what is this form all about? I've never seen this, or, can you explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old, to make sure that we know what we're talking about, and there are a lot of people that don't know they live in an HOA, don't understand it, have never had a problem with it. So they just need to know that this is all part of the process, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So any other thoughts or questions for the good of the order?
No,
All right.
So I have sometimes like issues with people saying that they don't want to live like on a neighborhood that, that's governed under HOA or like POA.
Mm-hmm.
So I always show them a property and it's an Eagle time. And I show them, it's like, this is what happens when you don't have an HOA.
Oh, yes.
Like POA.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you guys have seen that.
Oh, absolutely. Know that
That's the
property very
worst-
well.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that can happen as a homeowner.
That's not the worst. That is not the worst.
Just the other day.
Yeah,
That is not the worst.
that's an Eagle side.
No, that's in Coronado.
Okay, never mind.
Coronado, yeah. Ingleside is south of 264. That's up by 64.
Okay.
So you've seen that?
I have seen that house. It is a landmark. It is a landmark in Norfolk.
Yeah, well, a lot of my clients, they are like, I don't know this neighborhood, just, I go in.
For sure.
Okay. Understood.
So, and that brings up a good point too. Well, let's wrap up the class. So Donna, thank you. Glenn, thank you. See you guys next time.